In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council of South Carolina present Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday on Coping with Tre Tailor. Coping. Thank you so much for joining us for the award-winning Coping with Tre Tailor. I'm Tre Tailor. We've got a great show coming up for you. So I want you to enjoy. Hey, don't forget, we are streaming live on the Tailor Made production page. Please go over there, hit like and share and follow. Not only will you get notifications as to when we go live, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Wednesday for Wellness Wednesday from In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council, but also on Thursday and Friday for Coping with Tre Tailor. We're also streaming live on the YouTube channel. Please go over there and hit the subscribe button. We've got almost 3 years of information, resources, interviews that are available just for you, because you know what? We're always coping with something. We also have a presence on Instagram and also on Twitter. Coming up next, more Coping with Tre Tailor.
Hi, I'm Judy Gatson. As a news anchor, wife, and mom, I know how important it is to take care of our health. Part of taking care of our health is knowing if you're at risk of type 2 diabetes. Prediabetes is a serious health condition and puts you at risk for developing type 2 diabetes. It's estimated that more than 1.3 million South Carolinians have it, and up to 90% have no idea. Take a moment to visit inittogethersc.org to take an online test to find out your risk of prediabetes and how to join a diabetes prevention program that takes the guesswork out of losing weight, eating better, and being more active. You can learn new ways to stay healthy and sustain those changes over time. When you join, you'll even get support from a trained lifestyle coach to help you set and achieve realistic goals. Go to inittogethersc.org, brought to you by the Diabetes Action Council of South Carolina.
Dr. Usah Lilavivat is a passionate physician who advocates for those with pre-existing health care conditions like diabetes, heart disease, and high blood pressure. He wants to help them focus on their total health. Dr. Lilavivat, thank you so much again for joining us today on Coping with COVID. We appreciate all the work that you're doing, to help folks with the pre-existing conditions. Now, tell me, why first is it a problem, an extra problem for people who have pre-existing conditions? How does that affect their eyes even more so than someone else?
Yeah, people who have pre-existing conditions, there's so many things that have gone on with their body, their metabolism that had been smoldering for a long period of time. And people did not realize that those are the things already started. And for example, by diabetes, and we have about 30 million people in the country that have diabetes. But we have another 85 to 86 million people that have what we call pre-diabetes. And 9 out of 10 of people who have pre-diabetes did not realize they have it. They walk around, have no symptom, but yet the body metabolism already starting. There's what so-called insulin resistant. The body not using the insulin, unable to use the insulin. Therefore, it's causing the body to start changing, smoldering, starting as early as that time. And if we don't stop it, eventually by the time we start having a problem, like the car, every part is already broken. Now, when it breaks down, it doesn't break down one part. It breaks down many, many parts all at the same time. And that's very hard to fix.
Yeah, we're talking to Dr. Lilavivat about eye care with people with pre-existing conditions. Now, is it pretty much the same, Dr. Lilavivat, for those who have diabetes, blood pressure, and heart disease? Is it that particular group of folks?
Yes, they are kind of intermingled together. The diabetes itself, with the high blood sugar level, the sugar molecule react to the protein in our blood vessel, especially the eye. When it hit the eye, it also hit the kidney, because those are called so-called small blood vessel. When it does the kidney eye, they usually go together. So how come, my kidney going bad, I have to go on dialysis, but at the same time the eye going bad and going blind? I say, oh my God, why has it happened like that? Then people say, okay, we got problem with a heart disease. You have a heart attack, has a stroke. So when things happen sometime like that, then everything fall apart, basically. So what we need to do, we need to recognize this condition, treat it as early as possible, so that we don't have to suffer like this.
Right. Want to say hi to everyone watching. Barbara Bowman says, she said she's tuned in. She said, this is truly a topic of interest. She said, especially for her. She said, because eye health has been a challenge. She said, recent cataract procedure. She says, but she realizes that this too is inherited from a parent. She said, but it was very challenging waiting due to COVID last year. But what a difference a year in surgery has made. Hey, Barbara, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your comment. And I want to encourage everyone to please post and share this information out, because I think we all know someone with heart disease, diabetes, blood pressure. And I'm just not sure, Dr. Lilavivat, as much as it's talked about, that people really understand how all of this takes an effect on every part of your body. I mean, we're talking about your eyes today, but it really affects every
Yes.
part of your body.
Right, right. The whole part about when we start with, we begin to understand more now. Diabetes, we have two different type of diabetes. Type 1, where the body rejecting their own beta cell, the pancreas not producing insulin because the body mistakenly producing antibody against our own pancreas, our own beta cell. So it destroy that part if we cannot produce insulin. Now, on the other hand, the type 2 diabetes, which is 90% of the people with diabetes population, type 2, it occur from the fact that we start having insulin resistance. Now, what's causing insulin resistance? A lot of things going on with that. Now, of course, genetic part of it, but we cannot blame on genetic. It is a genetic and the environmental factor that marry together, because with genetically we have some weakness in our body, but then the environmental factor throw that thing in, such as, for example, all the fast food, all the sugar and all the thing we consume, and then they're really affecting us, and we did not realize that. Now
Yeah.
the ladies are asking about the cataract, for example. People with diabetes, cataract is causing by a number of different things. For example, we go out and see the ultraviolet light. The ultraviolet hit our lens. It make our lens cloudy, hardening. But people with diabetes, guess what? We are more prone to get cataract than people who doesn't have diabetes. And then, so those kind of things, that people with diabetes, they get more glaucoma than people who doesn't have diabetes. So
Mm.
diabetes is really the risk factor. Now, why? Because the sugar molecule, it's in our body. When the sugar a little higher for a day or so, we don't feel that. But over a year and year and year, guess what? The sugar react to the protein in the body. That particular chemical reaction we call glycosylation or glycation. So when it glycated, that sugar molecule affecting the protein. For example, our blood cell, we have a hemoglobin. When the sugar react to the hemoglobin, it make that called hemoglobin A1C. On the other hand, when the sugar molecule react to the protein in a blood vessel wall, the eyes, kidney, the nerve, everywhere in our body, from head to toe,
Mm.
even hair follicle until our toenail,
Oh,
is
wow.
it bombarded with sugar molecule. That sugar too high and it glycated. It's a chemical reaction. This is what happened. People did not realize that that's what
Yeah.
happened.
In It Together SC and the Diabetes Advisory Council of South Carolina present Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday here on Coping with COVID. Today, we're talking about vision and eye health with endocrinologist Dr. Lila Vivat. Dr. Vivat, you have a recent study, some results of a recent study that you want to share with us. If we can get those slides up. Tell us about this study.
Yeah, this is a study from N. Haynes. It started way back many years ago. And then what happened is the National Institute of Health had gone out and survey people and looking for people who are, how did they live? What their lifestyle? They're checking their health, checking the blood pressure, the weight, and all that. And that including everything. We're checking the kidney, the heart, and the eye. And what we found that when they look in the eye, testing the people with the eye disease, and that scary number. And if we can show that on the first slide, we can see so on that one, and the next slide, and the next slide, where we see that the number, this is my introduction slide, okay? Now this slide, what did that show? It say people who aged 40 and 64, they got so many thousand in a number that in a thousand range, if it actually in a thousand more than that. Okay, and can we go back to the previous slide? And so what happened is that this particular uh, event that people older are more prone to get a little bit for the younger person. Okay, can we go to, yeah, that's good. That's a good slide. Now the thing that we scare the most is say there's a disparity between among our population. If we look at the number of a non-Hispanic white, okay, the number, of course, you got more population there, 25 uh, 2,500,000 people that had eye problem was at 26.4%. But we look at non-Hispanic black, even though it's 1,000 in that thousand, but it's 38.8%. So the percentage is much higher in the non-Hispanic black. The percentage of the Mexican American also higher, 34%. Now, if you look at other, it's a little lower. So what when they do the calculation, the statistical calculation, there's definitely disparity between the non-Hispanic black as well as the Mexican American. They have more eye problem than the others. So why? That's the
I was
question
going
we
to
need.
ask, why is
Yeah,
that? Is that something
right.
genetic, or is that how people in those demographics eat? What's the issue?
There, there, there could be it's genetic, but it's not all genetic because the way of living, how we live, how we eat, whether do we exercise, how what we doing? We smoke more than the other. I mean, these are the questions we need to answer that, and then the scientists will have to find out what is really going on. Why? Now, if you go to the next slide that tell us is say these are the people who are actually threatened to go blind. Whoa,
Mm.
that's scary. If you see that the number on the third column on the right side, you see the first, second, third column. You can see that the people who non-Hispanic white, 3.2%. When you go to non-Hispanic black, 9.3%. That means non-Hispanic black stand a chance get blind three more times. 9.3% versus 3.2. Mexican American 7.3%, much more higher than others. So this is really scary. You need to answer say why. Is it genetic, the way we live, or whether they don't have access to health care? That's another question. All right. So these are the things that we need to answer that. Okay. Now, if
Right.
you go to the next slide, you see that show you this is a picture of the retina and you can see the blood vessel. There are a
Now, is this a
few those.
normal retina we're looking at, Dr.
No,
Lilavivat?
that's really not normal. It looked not too bad, right? But you can see that some of the spot, the red spot, the little the tiny bleeding spot that we call pre-proliferative retinopathy. Now, people with this kind of retina have absolutely no symptom. You never know until you have your eye exam,
Well,
and
let's
that's a
stop there for a
scary
second
part.
and find out. So, what are some of the symptoms of having retinopathy? What are some of the symptoms?
All right, the symptom basically none. I
Uh,
seen that so many people have no symptom, and by the time they have symptom, I'll give you an example. Now go to the next slide. All right. So this next slide say, "Hey, doctor, I kind of see some blurry vision here." Now, when you look at that. That picture tell you a lot more stuff. You see that the little white stuff there? That's a is a fat particle. See, when there's a bleeding inside the eye, the body trying to remove the blood, and what it left, it's a scar tissue. It
oh my
left
goodness.
with the fat deposit in there. Then those people start having the eye trouble. Say, I don't see well, can't read well, the blurring. Okay, now next go on the next slide, and we can see that the next slide you see all different stages, right? On the middle one, that's a normal retina. On the left hand side, you see all the bleeding. It bleeding pop. People need have no idea. The first time they see the eye doctor, they show up that way. On the left hand side, that figure B right there. That's dangerous because they readily gonna go blind. And then
Mm.
on the number C that you see all those things that the scar tissues and all that thing that coming from the scar from sometime from the laser treatment. You think that we think the laser treatment can help us, right? Yes, it will stop the bleeding, but it put a lot of scar in our retina.
And
Okay.
then when you have that scarring, that too can affect your vision, correct?
Oh yes, yeah, the scar. That means the retina, that part of retina literally scar and die. That you don't have any
Mhm.
retinal cell anymore to pick up the image. You go to the next slide there. All right. And the next slide, you see the middle part is it look like a normal retina. It's a blood vessel right there. You got a little bit like almost a moon right there. It's called optic disc. That's where the nerve trap take the image of the eye going back to the brain. Now on the other picture, you see, look at that. On the left hand side, you see all the blood vessel all tangled. It's
Mhm.
ready to rupture and pop and bleeding.
Oh,
See on the
wow.
right hand, yeah, on the right hand side, same thing. You see all those blood vessels like a spider vessel. People have no symptom when you have that unless you didn't have the eye examination. Those spider vessel is very dangerous because it can pop and bleed, especially if the blood pressure shoot up. You may want to go to the bathroom, have a constipation one day and strain, and the blood pressure will pop and
Oh
cause
my God.
bleeding. And that's kind of thing that we only know if we start monitor, have the eye checked regularly. Okay, let's go to the
Mhm.
next slide there. And then the next slide, you see that there's another thing that show you say that arrow kind of say they're called proliferative retinopathy. What is that proliferative? It's the blood vessel that are growing haphazardly. See, when the retina having some problem and not getting oxygen supply, see what happened? Diabetes affecting the blood vessel. So make the blood vessel wall thick, make the blood vessel wall vulnerable, and then the eye don't have the retina. So by nature, the eye will start to say, hey, we need more oxygen. So it stimulate. There's a growth factor make the blood vessel grow. It stimulate the blood vessel regrow. As a reaction, we don't see that by nature say, hey, we don't have oxygen. Why don't we grow more blood vessel, bring oxygen in? Guess what? Yes, you can bring out more oxygen in, but the way how the blood vessel grow is not growing normally. It grow
Oh.
haphazardly. That's what we call proliferative retinopathy. That's a dangerous.
So
Okay,
that's really doing more harm. Your
more
own
harm.
eye is producing
Correct.
something to help it, but that's really more harm than good.
They do more harm. Yes, because all these blood vessels are very brittle. They break easily. Okay, we'll go to the next slide. And then say, this is the way how the eye doctor, the retinal specialist would treat you. So when they see that, they would put the little lens on top of your cornea. After they numb your eye, then they use this laser beam going in and cauterize, basically cauterize the retina to prevent these the blood vessel from growing haphazardly. Now they don't have to be careful. They don't shoot the laser right onto the blood vessel. We're gonna put the hole in the blood vessel and it causes bleeding, but they're going to shoot the laser around it, kind of more or less help sealing. Then this blood vessel growth, we're going to start to regress. It start to goes away. And next slide, you saw that. The next slide, you see that. Look at all the dots. What are these dots? These are the dots that are from the laser
As
burn.
a laser, yeah.
That's
Hmm.
a laser. So these laser burn, what it does that it took away the growth of the blood vessel, and you see that there's a normal blood vessel left behind, and that's the way how the laser treatment work. All
But
right.
Dr. Lilavivat, so after someone has had this type of laser treatment, what is the how will they be okay? I mean, what's the statistics? What's the probability that their vision will, or at least eyes, will return back to some type of normalcy? And how much normalcy is that?
Okay. So when the laser burn is the retina, what it does that is like it is a concept of a supply, supply and demand. When the eye demand more oxygen, so how do you make the eye say, "Hey, demand less oxygen"? So the laser literally kill the retinal cell away, reduce the retina, so they would demand less oxygen. When you demand less oxygen, all those growth of blood vessel will start regressing. See, this is the demand and supply theory, but actually, in reality, not good, because what happened is that we sacrifice the peripheral vision. So we kill the good retina on the periphery. So you lose some of your peripheral vision in order to preserve the central vision, which is the area where we call the fovea. That's where you
Right.
focus. That's the most important part. We want to preserve that. That's a
So
drawback to laser.
right.
All
So
right.
you're saying you'll lose your peripheral vision, but you'll still be able to salvage, the vision kind of seeing straight ahead.
Correct. That's correct. Now the new treatment coming out, you could go next slide. You see that the next slide, it showed that you see this is the picture which showed that the periphery, the surrounding the retina. Look at all the scar tissue. When there is a scar tissue, there's a pigment, the dark pigment, the white stuff. But what happened? The central part that we preserve. Okay,
Mhm.
this is what the whole thing about the
So
laser
let me ask you
treatment.
this: for something like this, this eye, we're just talking about this eye in particular. How far gone has this? Do you have to go? Not diagnosing, not having symptoms, not getting treated before your eye gets to this point.
Oh yeah, it's gone a lot. It very a lot. Unfortunately, I seen patient who I asked him say when we look in the eye, we see that there's so advanced the retinopathy. I asked him say, how long you had the eye problem? Oh, doctor, maybe about couple months. My eye blurred for couple months. That's all, couple months. No, in fact, the eye problem been going on for years, and people did not realize it. So this is why we need to have an early detection if possible. Now, the new treatment is really fascinating. The new treatment, the eye doctor will actually inject the medication in the eye. Now,
Oh
what is that
boy.
medication? That medication is called VEGF. It's a it is a antibody to stop the growth factor in the eye. It is vascular endothelial growth factor. You see, there's a vascular endothelial growth factor that make the blood vessel grow haphazardly. So they were able to design the medication, which is the monoclonal antibody, that actually attack that VEGF, that vascular endothelial growth factor. So when you stop that growth factor, guess what? Those blood vessels that grow haphazardly, it start to regress. So that is a new treatment, which is really nice because you don't need to have laser. So you don't need to have laser, but the eye doctor will look at the eye and say, okay, you can use that medicine. The other
Right,
one say, no, you have to have a laser. The retinal specialist will advise you what to do.
right.
Okay,
Because you
now,
have to be, I guess, early stages to use
oh,
the
that's at the
injection
early
as
stage.
opposed to the laser,
Correct.
correct?
As early as possible. Now, sometimes it gets so late stage. You go to the next slide. So when the retina it gets so bad, now this is the picture would show that you inject the medication in there. That's an anti-VEGF treatment. So that medication injected the eye to helping the blood vessel to grow. Now, in a late stage, sometimes they have to go in. We call vitrectomy. What they do? There's so much scar inside the eye. They have to go inside the eye, and they look have a little tiny knife that actually
Mhm.
cutting all the scar tissue out and pull them out. So and then they put the bubble in there. So the eye doctor will put the bubble in there to hold the retina in place like a splint. It's amazing the technology that the retinal specialist can do. It's amazing. But nevertheless, we need to detect that as early as possible so that we can treat the metabolic problem so that we don't get now. In the next slide, you can see that there's a study where it's called the DCCC study. You can see that the slide would show that there's a two group, the A1C, the moderate for 10 years. One group that had high A1C, the other group have low A1C. Guess what happening? So after 10 years, all right. The group that had high A1C feel like, oh yeah, they have a study done to bring the A1C down, so they are behaving themselves, so they got the A1C down. Now the other group, they have a good A1C done, and then after the study done for 10 years, the doctor say, okay, we're study done. You can go home and come back. We'll check you once a year. But
Mhm.
most people get slack a little bit, so the A1C creep up a little bit. So the two group end up the same. And during that time, will continue to follow. The study continue to follow called ADIC study. Follow them for another 10 year, 15 year, and including their court study. So next slide we can see that with the people that had a better control from the beginning, the group that are lower A1C group actually have much less eye problem later on. And it
Right,
did show that, yeah, so therefore we need to start early. We need to
right.
show.
We're talking to Dr. Lilavivat. He is
Yeah.
a local in South Carolina endocrinologist, and we're talking about eye health. He's been showing us some fascinating information about a study, first of all, that talked about the disparities as far as vision and eye health is according to age, race, and demographic. And then, of course, he was showing us what happens when your eyes are so damaged, the injection process, the laser process. In It Together SD and the Diabetes Advisory Council present Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday here on Coping with COVID. I'm Tre Tailor. Dr. Lilavivat, Michelle had a question. I wanted to get her question out and some more questions as we continue to go through these slides. She wanted to know, is all of the damage occurring simply because of uncontrolled blood sugar?
Yes, that's a main part of the uncontrolled blood sugar. The second thing is high blood pressure. Uncontrolled high blood pressure also play very important part of that. So these two are very important factor that are intertwined together. So that's what we need to look at it. All right. And
So
then
let me ask you this. I know we've got a couple of more slides, and I definitely want to get you your slides because this is so fascinating. But I just kind of want to talk about how people can. I mean, because if you're not getting your yearly checkup, and is that what you suggest? People with these conditions, high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes, they need to get checked more than annually or just
more,
annually?
yes. Well, when they have a check it initially, after they have when they have diagnosed to have diabetes type 2, they need to have it checked right away.
Mm-hmm.
And people who have type 1 diabetes, we know exactly what date it started. That within 4 or 5 years, they need to have it checked. Once they have it checked, they should check it yearly, annually. And then if there's something wrong, they need to check it more frequently. The eye doctor will say you might do it every 6 months, every 3 months, so that
Right.
we can prevent that. Now, for people who are pregnant, for pregnancy, we are to check it every trimester. So they should not just say, okay, you come in, you're pregnant, you have diabetes. We need to check your eye right now. And we're going to check it every 3 months, every trimester. Make sure that they're okay, because during the pregnancy, sometimes the retinopathy can really go bad rapidly. That's why my last slide really show you that really we need to promote the annual checkup for people with diabetes, annual eye exam at least. Then the eye doctor tell you, okay, you need to come more often. Maybe you're doing so good. On a rare occasion, they may say, all right, you can come back in 2 years on some exception on that, on a type 2 diabetes who are very stable. But most people would need an annual checkup. And
But
that's the guideline that.
what about for those folks, because you're saying if you are diagnosed with pre-diabetes or diabetes, what about folks who do have high blood pressure? Or is that the same thing? When you
Same
are
thing.
diagnosed with having high blood pressure, you too need to get your vision checked yearly?
Yearly, yes, because the high blood pressure can cause the hypertensive, we call hypertensive retinopathy. That the picture of those eye disease are a little bit different than the diabetic retinopathy. Sometimes they are overlap, they mingle together, but just that high blood pressure alone can cause hypertensive retinopathy. So very important to have that check.
We're talking to Dr. Lilavivat. He is a local endocrinologist, and we've been talking about how your health, your physical health, in particular, heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, affects your visual health. And he's been showing us some fascinating information. Dr. Lilavivat, I want to know, so does this play any differently if you have some of these conditions and you also wear glasses or contacts? Does that matter?
Oh yes, yes, yes. So for example, obviously, with people who have a myopia, people who have a short eyesight, the eye globes they grow differently, and wearing glasses, and now we actually myself suffering from watching this computer, all this blue light and all
Yes,
that.
yeah.
Oh, there's a lot of new research gotta come out, So a lot of time we start having the eye get tired, cheering and all that coming because we get so much of this light coming in. That's why when I go outside, I want to make sure I wear the ultraviolet uh, eyeglasses, ultraviolet to shield the ultraviolet off of my eye, and make sure we eat healthy. because
Right.
there are a lot of antioxidants that we're not consuming. Those are the ones that actually prevent our eye from getting bombarded with all the but bad metabolic stuff. And that's a lot of things too, a lot of research going on. But eating healthy would not hurt anybody. It actually will
Right.
help. So, and then we need to have all the antioxidant, all the vitamin A that we can have, and that will help our eyesight.
So you mentioned the glasses, and I've heard people talk a little bit about these ultraviolet glasses. Tell us about that. How does that help your eyes in relation to your physical health? And where do you get these miracle glasses from, Dr. Lilavivat?
Well, yeah, you see, so the ultraviolet, it really like when we got radiation from ultraviolet, it irradiated some of these molecule inside because unfortunately you see that the our lens in our eye is made with protein. So when the sugar high, it affecting the pressure of the eye. Sometimes the eye pressure high, sometimes and the sugar molecule embedded into the protein and then creating some chemical reaction. And then when you try the ultraviolet in that, it usually promoting some of this chemical reaction, which is bad. We need to stop that ultraviolet. So
Okay.
that's what's going on.
So this is that is and so how is that hurting? How is that hurting your eyes?
That
The
the
ultraviolet.
ultraviolet and actually make the lens hard, and people would actually get cataract easily. The cataract prematurely. So a lot of cataract usually as you get older, we get too much ultraviolet. We get cataract. But if we get diabetes, so the cataract becoming more premature, then the circulation of the fluid in our eye instead of circulated freely, it does not circulate freely, end up building up the pressure, and it causes what we call glaucoma. And glaucoma can actually increase the pressure in the eye, and then it destroy the retina. And glaucoma, by the time people, some eye doctor told me, say people with glaucoma have no symptom. By the time they got symptom, they say that I could not see well, they almost go blind
Oh,
because it's
wow.
too late to correct that. Yes.
Wow, wow. We're talking to Dr. Lila Vivat about eye health here on Coping with COVID and It Together SC and the Diabetes Advisory Council present Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday. Dr. Lila Vivat, we're going to take a short break and we're going to come back and talk to you a little bit more about what people need to do to help prevent them from having the cataracts and they have to have laser surgery and have somebody shooting something in their eye. You know, we're going to talk a little bit about diabetes prevention and also diabetes care in rural areas. Okay, we'll be right back with more from Dr. Lila Vivat. I'm Tre Tailor. You're watching Coping with COVID, brought to you by In It Together SC and the Diabetes Advisory Council of South Carolina. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Carolyn Sawyer, an entrepreneur and caregiver. Part of taking care of your health is knowing if you're at risk of type 2 diabetes. Prediabetes is serious and puts you at risk for developing type 2 diabetes. Up to 90% of South Carolinians who have it don't know they have it. Visit inittogethersc.org. Take an online test to find out your risk and join a diabetes prevention program. This message brought to you by the Diabetes Action Council of SC.
Computers, they're a part of our everyday lives. But when they're not working, they're an everyday problem. So call Computers Unique, your everyday solution. 803-351-5821. Is your computer running slow? Won't turn on? Do you need a screen replaced? Or maybe you just need another computer? Well, Computers Unique is your one-stop shop for all your computer needs. They have a wide variety of new and pre-owned PCs, Macs, and tablets. So call Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall. 803-351-5821. 803-351-5821.
In It Together SC and the Diabetes Advisory Council of South Carolina present Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday here on Coping with COVID. Thank you so much for joining us. Hey, don't forget that we are streaming live on the In It Together Facebook page. Go over there for all kind of great information about diabetes prevention programs, tips and information and advice and more. We're also streaming live on the Tailor Made Production page on Facebook. Please go over there, hit like, follow, share, join us on YouTube, on Instagram, and also on Twitter. And please continue to post and share this information out so we can get the message to the masses, because we are sharing some important information about diabetes, about heart disease, and also about high blood pressure. We are joined by endocrinologist Dr. Lilavivat. He joins us today. And Dr. Lilavivat, thank you again so much for joining us, because you have shared some great information today about how your health affects your vision. And I just don't think, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, that we grasp that it really happens. Now, you talked about early detection, that people really should be getting their annual eye exams. But I want to ask a little bit about, because you say there are no symptoms. I mean, what about headaches, flashes of light? None of that happens before you get to a stage where maybe you need you need to go and get something done?
That's right. Yes. Yeah, by the time we have flashing a light, that's a symptom of the retinal detachment.
Wow.
Whoa, that's a really late stage, So we really need to care about ourselves. We need to learn how to prevent that. How to prevent? Okay, people with diabetes got to make sure diabetes is under well control. So they need to really follow, talk to the doctor, say, make sure they got the hemoglobin A1C control. They need to learn how to check their own blood sugar. Some people might get to wear a sensor. So they all kind of things that they have to think about how to get diabetes better control. They need to have the blood pressure well controlled, because that's another factor that can actually make the diabetic retinopathy worse if you have high blood pressure. Blood pressure have to be well controlled. That means they have to eat healthy. They have to have cut back on the salt intake. They should not have salt intake more than 2,300 milligrams of sodium a day.
Yeah.
But on the average American, we're consuming up to 6,000 to 8,000 milligrams of sodium a day. Whoa, that really not good.
Is there anything, Dr. Lilavivat, that you, even if you are, because listen, a little bit of everything has so much salt in it. I mean, no matter what you eat, there's hidden salts and hidden sugars. But let me ask you this. Is there anything you can do if you're not counting calories, if you're not really looking at labels and stuff like that? For instance, does drinking more water help flush your system out? We've heard that.
Yeah, if your kidney is still functioning well, you would be able to do that.
If
But
your
some
kidneys
people,
are still functioning well.
right. But if sometimes people already the kidney is weakening, I have some patients say, "Doctor, can I drink more water?" No, your kidney already is so weak. If you drink more water, you would not excrete it out. You end up with swelling. You see, the swelling is that mean the heart is weakened, the heart not pumping the fluid out. So when the doctor say no, you could not drink too much water. You see, that's a late state.
Right.
The early state, of course, you drink more water is good. And what we need to do, we need to stop the inflammation in our body, because it's an inflammation. We learned so much from the COVID. The COVID is causing the body to have this inflammation, the inflammatory factors such as interleukin 6, TNF alpha. What does that stand for? Tumor necrotic factor. It's a dirty word, tumor necrotic factor. What is that causing? When people have cancer producing all these factors, tumor necrotic factor. COVID virus causing that. This causing inflammation. So when a patient have this called cytokine, what is cytokine? It's one of them called interleukin 6. These are the chemicals that the scientists discover. So it is a marker of the inflammation in the body. Now, people with metabolic syndrome, people who are overweight, people who doesn't exercise, not eating healthy, they have this smoldering cytokine in the bloodstream. Now, people with COVID, when they got hit by COVID, they have this cytokine storm. When they have surge of this cytokine in the bloodstream, that's when they crash. That's when they die, unfortunately. Now, what we have learned that in the metabolic syndrome, we have this smoldering factor going on. We eating food that are not healthy. One of the things that people are not aware, they're called AGE. Now, what's an AGE stand for? Not age, it is an advanced glycosylate end product. Where is that coming from? coming from the food that we overcook. If we
Oh,
go out,
wow.
yeah, if we grill the food, grill and make it dark. I used to say, they when the restaurant come with a blackened fish. Whoa, tastes so good. They got so much blackened fish. I said no more because it blackened, it high heat cooking, it create a lot of AGE, advanced glycation end product. Don't
Wow.
do that because those are the things that can actually, the studies show that actually promoting the retinopathy as well, besides in causing cardiovascular disease.
Well, I want to get into that a little bit more, but I want to acknowledge, Johanna, I see your question. I'm going to ask Dr. Lilavivat your question in just a minute, but I want to get this straight, Dr. Lilavivat. Are you saying that we shouldn't grill or, because when I was eating fish, I love a blackened salmon. I don't eat fish anymore, but so you're saying that we shouldn't blacken or grill our food?
No,
Or
correct.
really?
Yes, because
It's a good thing you didn't say that before the 4th of July, because people were grilling out
yeah,
something. So
right.
no more grilled hot dogs, y'all.
Yeah, no, exactly. High heat cooking not good for us. Okay, because it generates, it's called
Wow.
advanced glycation end product. Now, what's the best way to cook? Steam, because steam is only the degree go to 100 Celsius, and then the water will boil into steam. It would never go above that. So you have a lot less AGE, and that's the
Wow.
healthiest food that you can do. The steaming, not heat it so high. And then time of cooking also make this AGE very high. So Dr. Velasova from Mount Sinai, New York, she showed her slide that actually showed that one of those crispy skin, we have that barbecue pork and all that, this
Yeah, yeah,
skin,
yeah.
so crispy, Peking duck. Anybody who love Peking duck, you found it? The skin is so crispy. Oh wow! When she showed the slide, it's loaded with AGE. I say, oh my God,
And
forget it.
AGE does what exactly, Dr. Lilavivat?
Okay, AGE is an advanced glycosylated end product. It it what we call it? It tackle our body. So it tackle our cells. It tackles many things in our body. Okay, it causes cancer in the long run. Ooh, it causes heart disease. It causes inflammation. Our body trying to react to it. Not good. We need to learn about it. You see, we that's I there's a research at MUSC. They're talking about the AGE also. So these are the
Wow,
things
Dr.
we need to
Lilavivat.
bring it up in the open. We need to learn more about that.
Yes, 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 yes. Like I said, because you have just changed the game for the rest of the summer. No more cookouts or no more grilling anyway. So
Yeah,
it's
no more.
no way. I just want to get this straight. There's no way, even if you're grilling vegetables.
Yeah, even you
No.
grill vegetable because you change all the molecule to advanced glycation end product. So
Wow.
you're better off steaming it. Steam your vegetable. Right.
Wow. All right.
So
Johanna
I
Bridget,
used to cook.
yeah.
I used to cook the
Michelle
vegetables
says we
stir
need to have
fry.
steam out. Thank you, Michelle. Let me ask this question, Dr. Lilavivat, from Johanna. And thank you, Johanna, for joining us. She says her vision took a drastic change after she turned 44. She says she has gritty eyes in the morning and slow correction later on. Any suggestions?
Oh wow! So that she makes sure she sleep well. Wow. Sleeping is very important. One of the, you see our circulation, we have arterial, the heart pumping blood to the aorta, right? Red blood, right? So that blood supply our organ and then it return back to our body with called venous system. Now we also have another system called lymphatic system.
Mm-hmm.
The lymphatic system is a lymph gland. Lymph gland, it trap, let's say people who have cancer, the lymph gland will trap that cancer from traveling. So basically stop the bad traffic. Now our brain has a system called glymphatic. What is that glymphatic? It's coming from glial cell. So our brain cells composed of the neuron, which is we're thinking all that thing work for us, the neuron. But there's another cell called glial cell. This lymphatic system, it helps us, our brain, to clear it up and dump out the bad stuff. Okay? Like we flush the toilets every day, right? So
You
our
should.
brain,
You should.
our brain, same thing, how to flush out the bad stuff. Guess what?
Okay.
The lymphatic system only work when we sleep. Whoa. See, I used to be, when I was in college, I compete, try to get into college in med school. I stay up, study, study, study. And on my mind say, sleeping is waste of time. Oh, no, no.
Right.
I was wrong. I was wrong. You have to sleep. Have to make sure you sleep well.
So are you thinking that she's not getting enough sleep?
Enough
Maybe that's why
could
her
be.
eyes are gritty in the morning?
Could be one of the factors you can look into. I myself discovered that I did not sleep well enough. Why? Because I snore. My wife
So you're
complained.
waking
She
yourself
was-
up.
I
Sleep
have a
apnea.
test done. Sleep apnea. I got sleep apnea. So ever since I have that CPAP mask, I would a lot better. I wake up a lot more energetic.
Yeah. Thank
Yes.
you, Johanna, for your question. So, Dr. Lilavivat, are you suggesting that even our poor sleep habits affect our vision also?
Yes. Yes. I talked to my eye doctor
I agree.
colleague. They told me same thing. They say, "Hey, your eye telling you you're not sleeping well."
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, look, Dr. Lilavivat, Michelle Harris, who works at DHEC, that booked you for the show, and you really got to come back because, first of all, you have canceled summer. You said no more cookouts. You don't cancel summer. And I mean, you just have some other fascinating information. I mean, I think we hear, obviously, you need to get your rest. Sleep is important, particularly as you get older. But who knew, not me, that your sleeping even affects your vision?
That's right.
That's
Correct.
fascinating.
Yes, yes. And then it also it affecting our brain, our cognitive function will deteriorate if we don't sleep well. The Harvard Health is talking about 5 things. You got to sleep well, eat healthy, got to exercise. Exercise also help the brain cell. All
Mhm.
right. People who exercise, they don't lose their memory. All right. You got to challenge your brain, got to keep working. That's why I don't retire. My patient asked me. And number 5, keep the spirit up. Very
Yeah.
important. 5 things we got to do.
Give us the 5 once again. Number 1,
Okay. Sleep well.
sleep well. And
Yes.
that means at least 8 hours, right?
At least 8 hours. Depends. Some people require 7, some people 8, some people, they got to sleep, deep sleep also.
Number
Sleep
2,
well. Number 2, eat healthy.
eat healthy.
Yes.
How many
Number 3,
chocolate chip cookies can I have?
and that's a lot of
I
HEE.
don't
Be
eat meat, Dr.
careful.
Lilavivat. I don't eat meat and I don't drink soda. I only drink
Yeah.
water. So how many
Right.
chocolate chip cookies can I have in place of that?
We need to do a little study on that one too.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And then
Number 3.
Number 3, exercise.
Exercise.
Whoa, exercise, very important. Now there are 2 type of exercise now. Some people go out to the gym and get the muscle workout.
Right,
That's
right.
good. That keep your stamina well. But aerobic exercise very important. Aerobic exercise help our cardiovascular, and then deep breathing exercise. I just found out about that. The deep breathing exercise help promoting our autonomic nervous system health. That's very important because as part of that, the other question say, hey, why did the eye? See our eye? We have the tear gland. It's controlled by the autonomic nervous system. You see, so when the baby cry, the tear coming out, that coming from the parasympathetic nervous system that make the tear gland make this tear for us, right? So sympathetic is the other way. Sympathetic nervous system make our pupil dilated, and parasympathetic make it constricted. So these are the things that autonomic, we take it for granted. We never exercise that part. How do you exercise that part? Deep breathing exercise.
Deep breathing. So
Slow
that's
deep
just as
breathing.
important
Yes,
as physical
that's
exercise.
important physical exercise.
All right. Number 4.
Number 4, challenge our brain, right?
Right.
Yes, got to keep on working.
So
All right?
reading, doing puzzles, stuff like that.
Yes, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
And
number 5, keep
Number
the
5.
spirit up. Keep the spirit up.
Keep your spirit up.
Oh, yes. Very important.
And that could mean going to church, just being happy,
Be happy.
take stress away from your life.
Correct. Correct. Yes, yes, yes. And that requires a lot of your heart too.
It does. Yeah,
Oh,
it does.
your
It
heart
does.
will help your brain.
Yeah.
Mm.
Dr. Lilavivat, thank you so much for joining us today. You have just been such a pleasure, and I really would love to get you back. I want to talk to you about diabetes prevention in rural areas. I want to talk to you about being a part of the Diabetes
Yes.
Advisory Council and more. But you have really given us some fascinating information about health, how it affects our eyes, and some other information. So you gave us more that we bargained for, so we appreciate you so much for all.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that have an opportunity to share with everybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dr. Lilavivat is an endocrinologist here in Columbia, South Carolina. If people want more information, are you still accepting patients, Dr. Lilavivat?
Oh, yes. But I building up the team, so they are helping me. So I'm hoping that I can teach my team to help everybody.
Yeah. All right.
Yes.
We'll contact Dr. Lilavivat. You're here in Columbia, South Carolina, correct?
Sumter, South Carolina. Yes.
Sumter. You're in Sumter, South Carolina. All right.
Right.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lilavivat. We appreciate your time and your expertise, and invite you anytime. You're welcome to come back on Coping with COVID. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Judy Gatson. As a news anchor, wife, and mom, I know how important it is to take care of our health. Part of taking care of our health is knowing if you're at risk of type 2 diabetes. Prediabetes is a serious health condition and puts you at risk for developing type 2 diabetes. It's estimated that more than 1.3 million South Carolinians have it, and up to 90% have no idea. Take a moment to visit inittogethersc.org to take an online test to find out your risk of prediabetes and how to join a diabetes prevention program that takes the guesswork out of losing weight, eating better, and being more active. You can learn new ways to stay healthy and sustain those changes over time. When you join, you'll even get support from a trained lifestyle coach to help you set and achieve realistic goals. Go to inittogethersc.org, brought to you by the Diabetes Action Council of South Carolina.
Thank you so much for joining us for Coping with Tre Tailor. If you have a product or service that could help someone cope with COVID, please email copingwithtretailor@gmail.com. We would love for you to be a proud sponsor, just like In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council. They sponsor Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday here on Coping with COVID. Javis Tax Services, Palmetto Media Connections, the Fifth Circuit Solicitor's Office, Attorney Byron Gibson, Agape Counseling and Training Services, Black Pages, Black Expo, the Comet Bus System, and Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall. We also would love for you to be a guest on the show. If you have a story or initiative that could help someone cope with COVID, please email booking@copingwithtretatailor.com. Booking@copingwithtretatailor.com. That information is scrolling at the bottom of the screen. We would love to feature you on the show because we're always coping with something. As always, we leave you with a great devotional. I'm reading back again from Jesus Calling. This says, when things seem to be going all wrong, stop and affirm your trust in me. Calmly bring these matters to me and leave them in my capable hands. Leave them there. Then simply do the next thing. Stay in touch with me through thankful, trusting prayers, resting in my sovereign control. Rejoice in me. Exult in the God of your salvation. As you trust in me, I make your feet like the feet of a deer. I enable you to walk, to make progress upon your high places of trouble, suffering, or responsibility. When things are going wrong, remember what is right. Jesus, he can do it for you. Thank you guys so much for joining us today for Coping with Tre Tailor. Until the next time, I wish you peace and abundant blessings. Take care, stay well, God bless. And if you're going to be out and about with large crowds, especially inside, don't forget to wear your mask over your nose and under your chin. I'll see you soon.
Coping, find peace of mind to survive through whatever. Coping, learning the way that we thrive all together. Coping, finding success, for improving our life. Coping beyond hoping to do more than survive. Ways to live a healthy life. Coping and promoting, learning what you can do. 6 ways to a better you. Coping, find peace of mind to survive